the earlier promoted focus on Nigeria's political economy in the wake of COVID-19 and much needed insight for government's economic handlers regarding stimulus packages for small businesses and the informal sector. We are now being joined by Peter Obi, a former governor of Anambra State, vice presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party during the 2019 general election, and a renowned businessman. Good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mr. Ruben. How are you?
Good morning, I'm fine. Well, happy birthday in arrears. Good to have you on the morning show. Well,
Thank you.
Very quickly, let's clarify something. There's a story out there that you've been endorsed for the 2023 presidential election by the General Overseer of the Redeemed Church, Pastor Adeboye. Is that true? Are you looking in that direction? And that story is out there. We'll send it. Before we settle down to business, can we have an update on that?
Well, let me tell you, Mr. Ruben, is I'm not 2020. I'm not contesting election for the office of the President of Nigeria. And for me, I've said it consistently that people should stop talking about 2023. Let's talk about the future of the country before we get there. Of course, as you know, as a Nigerian, and personally, I respect Pastor Adeboye is one of those that I believe that is a true man of God. I've always believed in what he's doing, and his method of evangelization should always be respected. And of course, I'll be glad if what he said is true, but then I'm not contesting the election, and that is where it is.
Okay, then let's get settled down to business. A lot has been happening in the country. Stories about the probe of the NDDC, stories about a former managing director giving an uncommon slap to a former uncommon governor, stories about the probe of the EFCC, and also all that drama in the National Assembly about the NDDC really, and reports about a certain 100 billion naira also missing at the Northeast Development Agency. Two quick issues. What's your take on the value of these interventionist agencies, the leadership that has been provided in those agencies, and then some of the personalities involved and how they have conducted themselves so far?
Ruben, thank you very much. I wish you can give me time to explain how sad I am at this. Every Nigerian, all well-meaning Nigerians, especially those of us who are leaders, should be very sad and ashamed, very sad and ashamed about what is happening in our country recently. And worrisome, because at this time, the whole world is focused, every nation, on how to regig and retool their economy in order to be able, post-COVID, to be able to deal with issues of unemployment, issues of business collapses, issues of health and everything, that us, Nigeria, that is on bottom of the ladder, is preoccupied by the least expected of any nation at this time. And I give you a few examples of what is happening. From July 17th to July 21st, all the member nations of European nations, their leaders were in Brussels, day and night, having a marathon meeting, how to regig the economy of Europe post-COVID. And after that marathon meeting, we're able to arrive at spending 1.8 trillion, about $2 trillion, starting with 750 billion immediately. And this is a call it European Union. This is a continent or a union where the global GDP is 18.3 trillion, almost 20 trillion, and with a per capita, global per capita of $36,000, having this marathon meeting, worried about the economy. Africa, with 10% of that, is not worried. Nigeria, with 1,900 per capita, which is just less than 5% of that of Europe, is busy doing a show of shame when we should have been preoccupied with this. Just this is Europe. Women, South Korea, for the first time in 20 years, because of COVID-19, are going into recession. South Korea today is 4 times plus our GDP at 1.6 trillion and per capita of 36 plus, which is about over 15% of ours. They've gone into recession. Australia, with about 25% of our per capita at 54,000, is already going through the highest budgetary deficit since Second World War. And all we are doing here is portraying and going through this drama that is highly uncalled for at this critical time. Remember that pre-COVID, we are the country with the highest number of people living under poverty, highest number of out-of-school children, very high youth unemployment. So with the post-COVID, the situation will be worse. So if anything, we should by now be 24 hours talking about how are we going to regig and retool our economy to start solving some of our problems.
Okay, you said this drama is uncalled for, but let's talk about the ongoing probes and the investigations, whether at the NSITF or the EFCC or the NDDC, or maybe perhaps even the NEDC anytime soon. How far do you think that this addresses the cause of wastages? And what do you think is responsible for this level of corruption we are seeing?
Well, I've said the issue of corruptions at times. Corruptions, you will see, I've been an operator in this. It is deliberate. As far as I'm concerned, we have no position to fight corruption. Fighting corruption is not a rocket science. You can fight corruption easily, very easily. If we, the leaders, are not corrupt, you reduce corruption by at least 70–75%. I've been at the helm of affairs at a particular section of this country. I'm not saying there was no corruption there, but I can tell you it's reduced by 70% because anybody who is trying anything knows that it's going to end up in my desk. And we are going to question it, and it's going to be properly scrutinized. All these things you did, and remember what I said, that issue of fighting corruption should not be an economic policy. You're looking at what has happened in the past. I can tell you that all these monies that you're looking into now, you can hardly recover, if ever, 20% of it. So there's ways in which you can stop this. It is not a rocket science to stop it.
How do we stop it? Because apparently it's not stopping. So how do we stop it?
Very simple. Become more transparent in monies you're releasing, the contracts and everything. If you go anywhere you go in the world, just drive to Ghana, just fly to Ghana. If you come out of the airport, if they award contract for road, they will tell you this road contract is awarded. They will write it there, the amount, the contractor, when it's starting, when it's ending. So everybody knows Two, issues of the process of awarding the contracts is weak. It's a very simple thing. Like I said, I've operated at this. Let me give you an example of issue about education. If today UBEC wants to send money, there's a UBEC in Abuja. They send money to equivalent of the same organization in the state. Who send it to the same organization in local government? Go to Ghana, go to Kenya, go to all these countries, I visited them. There's nothing that stops them from sending out the money direct from the initial place to the school. We know the school, let the school form an organization that manages the money between parents and teachers. If you know what you want to spend per people, send it direct to the school. All these transit points are toll gates to create confusion, create problems and everything. So there's so many ways. It's not something, if we discuss it here, it would take time. Because there are other issues I know we will discuss.
Right. I want to talk to you about something you're very passionate about, the state of the nation's economy or the state of government finance. We have seen that COVID-19 has affected many economies around the world. It has increased government spending. But I want to talk about this specifically, about how government can generate a lot of new revenue, because the problem has been about the government not generating enough. I mean, if you look at the size of our budget, compared to countries way smaller than us, like Kenya, you'd see that the Nigerian budget doesn't beat the Kenya budget too much. It's almost, around that $30 billion mark for a country with a size like this, 923,000 square kilometers, and over 200 million people. How can we increase revenue? Recently, we saw gold, being touted after the artisanal mining scheme. How can we even go beyond gold and increase revenue for the country? Recently, you talked about how you missed an investment in Zoom. Today, Zoom is $1 billion company. How can we have a lot of Zooms in Nigeria to zoom the economy into prosperity?
It's a very simple thing. Very simple thing. Yes, I like what you said about our generating revenue. It's good for us to look at the economies. And let me tell you about budgeting, about the economy, so that we can look at it holistically. In Africa, if you look at the three biggest economies, our budget is 150 naira per head. Second biggest economy in South Africa is 2,000 per head. Third biggest economy is Egypt, is 600 naira dollars per head. Fourth one is Algeria. I think it's 1,700 per head. And then Morocco is 900. So we're not even up to one quarter of the among the biggest five in terms of budgeting. Even if you come to West Africa, ours is still 150. Ghana is $455 per head. Cote d'Ivoire is 340, and Cameroon is 300. So we are not even 50% of Cameroon in terms of budget per head. Of course, I've compared it with Asia, where you have Thailand at 1,005, Indonesia at 600 and something, Vietnam at 700, and all that and all that. Even Bangladesh, that was supposedly a poor country, is about 300. So we're low. The question is to ask, what did they do and what are they doing? Increasing your revenue is simple. It's like you cannot withdraw money from a bank if you don't pay in. You must do investment in the critical areas of development. And those critical areas are very simple. You have to fight poverty. You have to invest money in businesses, small businesses. The more you invest money in small businesses, the more you can collect taxes, and other revenues, the more you pull your people out of poverty, the more money you make from income taxes. People can't pay you tax when they're in poverty. You're not going to get the money. The more you invest in education, the more you can pull out resources, because those people are going to do something. So you require critical investment. And I give you a clear example. Just on Friday, the president announced that Nigeria was able to earn from diaspora remittances $25 billion annually for the past 3 years. So if we're a country that is focused, and you talk about doing so many Zooms, if we're a country that is focused on tomorrow, what it now shows is that diaspora remittances now earn more than oil, because our oil revenue in 2016, 17, 18, 19 was an average of $18 billion. And diaspora remittances are now bringing in 25. So in 3 years, we earned $75 billion for remittances as against $54 billion from oil. What do you do if you're a country that is serious and you want to focus on tomorrow? You can now see where the new oil is. It is on human resources. So if you want to earn more money in the future, you have today our diaspora population is 15 million, which is about the same number of children we have out of school, 15 million. So if we invest today 1 to 1.5 billion annually, which is just about 600 billion naira, thereabout, annually, for the next 12 years, just on these 15 million out of school children, 12 years, you put them out of there. They're your next oil. Imagine putting another 15 billion to be remitting at the same amount. In next 10 years, less than 10 years, you doubled your income in that sector. And this is at the time oil revenues are going to be going down, because oil is becoming less and less needed all over the place. So this is your new investment. Small countries, like I mentioned before, Philippines, Indonesia, all these, Bangladesh, have been able to double their remittances within the past 10 years. When I went to Bangladesh in 2008, their remittances were about 6 billion. Today is almost 18. So you have to look at it. So it is investment, investment, investment. Small businesses in China does not only generate 60% of the GDP, create 60% of the employment, but in terms of taxes, they are about the same percentage. So you need to put money in it. So if you want more revenue, you invest. All this money you see that they are being stolen all over the place, are monies that are supposed to be invested in critical areas, education, this. Look at our debt today. It's 100 billion. I can tell you how you can use it, half of it, to create what I'm saying now.
Well, let me ask you about COVID-19, because, I mean, we can't have this conversation without discussing COVID-19. The Nigerian economy is beginning to open up, the airports, the railways, controversy over whether schools should reopen or not. But the big issue is about the palliative measures and steps that have been taken by the government. The CBN, about 1.1 trillion naira. The Economic Sustainability Committee is also talking about an additional 2.3 trillion naira. What's your assessment so far of the palliative measures that have been taken in terms of impact, and how government has so far handled, particularly at the national level, the COVID-19 challenge?
Thank you, Ruben. Let me first correct something. You said that Central Bank of Nigeria have provided a stimulus of 1.1 trillion and the federal government of Nigeria have provided 2.3. I think it's not correct. I think the 1.3, the 1.1 of a central bank is included in the 2.3. Okay. So actually, the physical stimulus is 1.2, and the monetary stimulus, which is central bank one, is 1.1. Two of them combined is 2.3 trillion naira. 2.3 trillion naira today is approximately $5 billion. Remain with us sense of respect and everything, it is grossly inadequate for a country of 200 million in population. It will not work. And even at that, we have not even religiously sat down to think about how to effectively apply that small number. It is not going to, it is too small for an economy of this size to pull it. Remember that after this post-COVID, we're going to have so many businesses that have collapsed, so many businesses needs to support to pull them out of their destiny. And again, I give you situations so that you will understand what other economies are doing. Economies of our size, economies within our region and everything. Let me first tell you what economies of our size are doing. Thailand, because I'm going to use those with high population, with a population of 70 million, is providing 84 billion. Indonesia, population of 250, which is about our size, is doing $62 billion. Vietnam with 100 is 26 billion. Philippines with about 105 is doing 20 billion, which their businesses have said is not enough now. You have Bangladesh. When I talk about Bangladesh, they're supposed to be far lower than Nigeria. It's even doing between 8 and 10 billion. And then you have in Africa, the second biggest economy, South Africa, is doing 26 billion physical stimulus, I'm telling you. Egypt is about 12. Now, let me tell you, further use South Africa to give you an example of how inadequate it is. South Africa is a country of 55 million, which is just a quarter of our population. And they're providing stimulus of 26 billion. South Africa, to support their micro, small, medium enterprises, they are spending $5.5 billion. That is the Nigerian entire package so far. If we follow it with their population and their GDP, we should be spending twice that, at least. South Africa is spending $5 billion to support businesses post-COVID. We have hotels that have closed down for 3 months. We have transporters whose vehicle have not been on the road for 3 months. We have people whose business have been shut down for months and everything. They're critical people, they're employing people. These are people who are already working. They need a support to be able to continue paying their salaries. South Africa is providing for this $5 billion, which they are going to give to support businesses. They are providing for new jobs, $2.5 billion. South Africa. Egypt is doing similar thing to their small businesses. Here, we have never, the only thing we have heard about small businesses here, Ruben, is actually just 50 billion central bank is providing, which you are aware of. 50 billion is 150 billion with about over 30 million small businesses we have. It's about 1,500 per head. 50 billion is 100 and something. Ghana Ghana is providing for small businesses equivalent of $500 each.
Okay.
So why Ghana is giving small businesses about 200,000 of them now, is giving small business about $200-something thousand to start. We are giving our own 1,500. It will not work.
Okay, let me ask Mr. Peter Obi, are you saying there are no merits to the stimulus by the Nigerian government so far, or you are simply saying it is not going to hit the mark? And if it's a case of not hitting the mark, where are the gaps for you, apart from the small businesses you've mentioned? Are there particular sectors that you think are missing here that we should be prioritizing?
You know, when you have a vehicle that has fallen into a ditch or and you want to tow it out, you have to bring the proper tonnage of vehicle that can pull it out. Otherwise, if you bring something that cannot pull it out, you will probably drag that one into the same place, and you have two vehicles to tow out. That's exactly what I'm saying. What you have now is inadequate to be able to pull our economy out of where we're going to be post-COVID. You know, people don't know what is happening now. I'm a businessman. I'm telling you that businesses have collapsed now. People are not doing anything. All your small businesses, people who live on daily pay and everything, have all collapsed. They can no longer, listen, they need to be retooled. They need to be given something to start. And that's what every nation is doing. Like in Egypt, they are giving us small businesses money, almost guaranteed by federal government of Egypt, and they found out they're not giving out enough. They have now directed all the financial institutions to give out as quickly as possible. It's happening everywhere. Is there any areas where, yes, the areas you should concentrate is micro, small, and medium businesses, and supporting existing businesses to come back to life. Because like I said, the transporters who have been back for months. Some of them are not even asking for free money, but provide them facilities at a competitive rate. At least if you can give the physical one, which might come to some free, let there be monetary one that is available where people can ask for loan and get it today at 5% or less, which is should be available. This you hear it in news. When you go to collect it, it's not there. And that is not where we're going to be post-COVID. We need to be more serious. People have aircrafts. People who have airlines, the aircraft are not going anywhere for months. These people are paying. They've borrowed money from banks like the transporters. They're going to pay back. Banks, yes, you can say banks have rescheduled their loan, but they haven't written it off. They just rescheduled it. The interest and everything have been rescheduled. These are things you need to come in and support them aggressively through physical and monetary stimulus. Okay. You can give them something for free and say, okay, you have this, take this one, this, and that is it. And these are monies you can say, where it's not available. But where is the money that's being stolen front, back, center?
Okay. I want to quickly talk about taxation. Recently, we heard about a tenancy tax of about 0. A lot of people are mistaking it for 6%, but that's for a tenancy agreement of over 8 to 21 years. But the one a lot of people are entitled to, it's a short agreement, is 0.78%. I mean, how will that affect businesses? I also want to talk about the 7.5% VAT. I mean, we all know that, we've talked about that, but I have not got your view on that. The taxation. Also, recently, the report that came out as regards NIPOST and rates for small logistics company. But the federal government, the Minister of Digital Economy, Dr. Patami, has come out to say that, no, he didn't support that, and that message is out there. What would you say about taxation and incentivizing small businesses?
Well, let me tell you that when you said about taxation, for me, issue of taxation should be put on hold and no new introduction of new tax because you have a crisis situation. And I said, no new taxation, whether it's on tenancy, whether it's on everything and orders and all that. What we need now is to support businesses. All these things we are saying, we're not getting enough revenue, we're not getting enough this. What we need is to curtail the expenditure, cost of governance. That's where we should focus now, especially now, and put monies into businesses and where we can gain tomorrow. We need to invest in education, we need to invest in health, we need to invest in... So these are areas where we need to focus now and cut off all these wastages. We're not taxing people more.
Well, quickly, Mr. Obi, I would like to ask you, I mean, your area is trade, commerce, business, the economy, finance, but I would like to ask you something also of interest to our Nigerian viewers particularly, which is about the security situation in the country. The other day, the Senate had cause to advise President Buhari to sack the service chiefs. They think that a change of personnel may result in a change of tempo and maybe result in a better achievement handling the security situation in the country. They even went for that to say if the president doesn't want to sack them, they should resign. What's your take? What do you think we need to do about security, particularly now that the challenge of COVID-19 has thrown up additional issues of poverty, frustration, and other crises within the polity?
Ruben, whenever I have the opportunity of at least contributing my own little way, I've always focused on one thing: economy. Whether you want to fight crime or you want to deal this, you reduce this if you have a better economy. Everywhere in the world, countries are not rated by any other thing except the economy. If you hear G7, G12, G20, it is because of the economy is doing well. We have had countries that have security problems all over the world, from Thailand to Indonesia to Brazil and everything. The better their economy, the reduction in crime. Again, I agree with what the Senate is saying, that there's need for change. I agree also, but I can tell you that even if you do all those things without doing anything that focus on the economy, you have a problem. If you don't put in to educate 15 million out of school children, they're going to turn into criminals. If we invest in them today, I'm saying that the ones you're going to send, they're going to even leave this country, become migrant workers and be remitting money. Today, we're in a global world where you can get a job anywhere. Somebody can be in Maiduguri and be employed by a company in America, a company in India and everything. Most of the technology companies in India are actually working for organizations in America, in UK. So it is even in Rwanda, in South Africa, everything. We saw Amazon on the other employing thousands of people in South Africa. So that is what we need to do now. Invest in education. Invest in those people. These are people who will contribute in terms of your tax, in terms of everything, but they are taken to crime. So for me, if you want to fight crime tomorrow, please, especially post-COVID now, you're going to have a worse situation. Let's invest in the economy. Let's invest properly in areas that will help us to keep the economy and get it moving.
Well, at the start of this conversation, you debunked a rumor that you'll be running for the presidency in 2023. I'm sure there are those who wonder why. Why are you not gunning for that position, especially with the talks of rotational power and zoning in the country? But that's aside. Let's talk about the present. Some people have criticized a lack of viable opposition for what we're seeing in the country. To what extent do you think that your party has failed in providing, because you're a member of the People's Democratic Party and a vice presidential candidate in the last election. So to what extent would you say your party has failed Nigerians to provide that, effective, constructive opposition?
Well, again, if you look at it, the reality is that, okay, I look at what you're saying. Some of them who are criticized are correct. But overall, the way we are structured here is that because of call it corruption that is involved, you only hear the voice of opposition because everybody is with those who are sharing or those who are doing this and that. We're doing whatever is possible, and I believe the party is doing the best they can. Maybe we need to do more.
Right. I want to take you up on an issue that is equally very important in this country, but we don't talk enough about, is the environment. If you look at parts of the East, it's inundated with big ecological problems, flood and the likes. Likewise, in the Southwest here, are going to have a lot of rain this year, and it's going to damage a lot of businesses and the likes. In other parts of the country, too, we have ecological challenges. In fact, that's why we have an ecological fund to be able to address this. But it looks as though that money has just, been kept aside by governors for their own doing. They can't really account for it. I want to have your take on how the ecological, challenges in Nigeria can threaten businesses and threaten livelihoods of people.
You mentioned that it's worse in the East. I remember while as a governor, we had to go and meet them, President Yaradua, and said that the ecological problems cannot be solved with the small money coming through ecological fund and everything. That what we want to do is to get whatever federal government can do and be able to source funding, long-term funding, interest-free, from the World Bank. And he gave that authority, and we were able to meet with the World Bank and was able to come out with what is today called the new map, to deal with the ecological problem in the Southeast, and I think it was extended to Southeast, South, and now some part of the North. The new map thing was actually, I can say, originated by me with my colleagues then, who were very supportive, and we were able to go through it and get it up and running, to be able to look at long-term money, to be able to tackle that issue, because there's a critical issue that needs to be tackled. Otherwise, you might not even have a place to live tomorrow. And that started, I don't know how well it's going now, because I know that for Anambra State, for example, we were able then to get almost about $140 million funding for about 40 years non-interest free, which was one of the things that made us to start our savings, to start saving money in what we call, if you borrow long-term money, you create what you call a sinking fund that will pay it off, which is even what Nigeria is not doing today. But in Anambra State, we started a sinking fund where by the time it comes to us to pay that money, which will be about 2040 something, 2050, we won't be looking for the money. We'll have excess money that we can pay them and continue. But we need to do with the environment. We need to do whatever is possible. Other nations of the world are doing this by organizing, borrowing where necessary, to be able to check this and then plan for it. So environment is as important as it is investing in the economy.
Well, Mr. B, somebody sent me a text message. It said that this interview will be incomplete if you don't talk about China. that he knows that, you watch the situation in China closely. But the question that the person is talking about is as follows. China has now embarked on Mars exploration. They just sent a mission to Mars. And just a week before then, it was the United Arab Emirates that also launched a space exploration program. And the person's concern is that, look, when is Nigeria going to get there? What do we need to do to leapfrog to the future?
Then you have to deal with the basics. You cannot be talking about going to exploration when you haven't even done, when you have 98 million people living under poverty. You have to look for food for them first. You have to deal with the basic things. Mine is that we can solve this particular problem easily. Doing what other people are doing, it is not a rocket science. This, we can pull easily 40, 50 million people out of poverty in 5 to 10 years if we do the right thing. It's not a rocket, it's been done everywhere in the world. And it's not a rocket science, but you have to have a clear roadmap, and everybody will know that, and you have to travel it religiously. It is not by going to a conference and saying, I'm going to do this, and we have to do it. And we know what to do by investing in the right places. Small economies have done that. It's as simple as ABC. You don't talk about going to Mars when improvement in 2010, I repeat this every day, when in 2010, your GDP is 370 billion, and between that time and now, you've accumulated a debt of 29 trillion, which if you use various exchange rates, is about $120 billion, and then your GDP is 400 billion. Even if you just add that particular money you borrowed, without investing it to that money, it would have been 500. But your GDP was 500 in 2015, and now you are 400. So you have, the reason why, look at what we're doing now, we're using 90% of our revenue to service debt. You know why? Because the money you've borrowed has been stolen. If it was invested, your GDP would have gone up. Your per capita would have gone up. But because the money, all these things you're hearing billion. This one you're talking about, the NDDC, these are small. It's all over. So because the money has been stolen, there's no money to service it. But if you have put it in business, if you have given it to business people who are doing business, if you are using it to create wealth and everything, by now, your GDP would have been higher. One is the percentage would have been better even to manage.
Thank you very much, Mr. Peter. Thank you very much indeed for this very engaging conversation this morning.